All right, Nick, let's talk about the Los Angeles Rams. Rams, tight loss in the divisional round against the Eagles. Disappointing loss, but I think the Rams have really rebounded now. It shows that Sean McVay looking towards the future, and it seems like he's got something cooking up. He's really trying to push one thing in particular to happen very quickly so they can reset and rethink about the future of this Rams team. I think some really interesting news coming up. But before we get to that, I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, the Rams have something cooking up. It seems Sean McVay is really pressing Matt Stafford to make a decision. They do not want a repeat of last offseason. Let's get into the article and we can talk more about it on the other side. This is from Yahoo Sports. It says, Rams coach Sean McVay, typically unflappable during news conferences, did not look or sound like his usual self. Last April, on the first night of the 2024 NFL Draft, news leaked that Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford won his contract adjusted. The public disclosure unsettled McVay and general manager Les Snead. They said that was a fun night, McVay recalled Thursday with a tinge of sarcasm, a real fun night to take away from a good night. McVay does not want a repeat of last year. He says, we do not want to have to go on again, McVay said during a video conference with reporters. I don't think that's good for anybody. I think sooner rather than later, being able to get that clarity, there's a lot to love coming from our part, and I think there's a lot of appreciation from his part as well, referring to Stafford. And I think a lot sooner than later is an ideal scenario. So this seems to me like Sean McVay is really pressing Matt Stafford to make his decision as far as what he wants to do going forward with this Rams team. I think there's some interesting things to take out of that to maybe read between the lines. I know you got some thoughts on this one, Nick, but before we get to you, Rams fan, in the comment section below, what are your thoughts on this Matt Stafford decision? Before he makes his decision, let us know what you want him to do. Do you want him to stay? You think there's still a future with this team going forward? Is he still the leader that can get this team back to another Super Bowl? Or do you think it's time to cut ties and move on? Are you looking forward to the future? You think Sean McVay has something special in plan for this team as well? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what are your thoughts on this latest news for the Rams?
Yeah, so at first look, it doesn't seem like why is Sean McVay being so aggressive about this? Why the need to push it? It doesn't matter, if it takes a week or a couple months at this point. The league year in terms of free agency, right, doesn't start, of course, until March. So there's a lot of time, at least on paper, to let Stafford hush this out. And we see this happen a lot of times during the offseason with a veteran quarterback where teams, coaches, general managers, whatever, they give their quarterback a lot of room and say, hey, take your time, don't want to rush you, make a decision. We're seeing Sean McVay take the opposite approach here. And this is a guy, if you remember, when he first traded for Matthew Stafford, did it before the league year opened up. Of course, there was the famous vacation interaction with Stafford, making the calls, the golf, the picks, all that kind of thing there. So this is I think, right, what we're seeing from Sean McVay is he's got a big move cooked up. I don't know how deep in the details it is. I don't know how close it is to being pulled off, but he's got something that I think he wants to get on with. He wants to move forward. Now, I don't know exactly what it is. There's a lot of things on the table. There's guys like the Seattle Seahawks, DK Metcalf. There's tight end Kyle Pitts for the Atlanta Falcons, guys rumored to be on the trade block. There's guys, free agents like Wiggins from the Cincinnati Bengals, potentially coming into the fold, as well as a guy who could be available. There's a lot of options on the table. Maybe it is a trade up in the NFL draft to get one of these quarterbacks. Maybe it's a trade back. It's really hard to tell because the Rams have done a great job with the way they've changed their strategy. They went from we hate draft picks to we're the best drafting team in the NFL in a matter of like 2 years. So they could go either direction. They could give up a lot of picks for a couple players. They could trade back and get more picks and rely on more rookies, whatever it may be. The Rams are certainly cooking something up. I think between him and Les Snead, they've got a plan. The only question for them is if Matthew Stafford is here or not. That directly changes the plan, which it obviously, of course, does, because then you have to focus on the quarterback position. And you also have to consider the fact that Matthew Stafford's cap hit is currently $49.6 million, according to folks at overthecap.com. That's not a small number, even though the Rams have about $46 million already in cap space. So again, I think Sean McVay has a plan with what he wants to do either way, whether Stafford stays or whether Stafford goes. He knows what he wants to do. He's got moves percolating. Him and Les Snead, I'm sure, have a lot of plans in place. Right now, they're just waiting to see what Matthew Stafford does, and they don't want to wait. If you're waiting on a quarterback, and sometimes a deal will leave you by, like another team decides to move on and do something else. They want Matthew Stafford to make a decision. Rams fans, I think you guys should stay really plugged in over the next couple of weeks because I think we're going to see some massive news, potentially a big trade. Honestly, to me, it feels like the Rams are going to trade for a bunch of big name veterans. They went young in the draft last couple of years. I feel like this is going to be a rehash from a number of years ago when they got guys like Jalen Ramsey and made big time deals like that. I think we're going to see a return to that strategy this offseason, and a lot of stars are coming to LA.
Yeah, Nick, I tend to agree with you here, especially because, like you said, the Rams have really gone all in the last few years on building young, building deep. They've got Kua, a great up and coming young star. They have tons, too many to name, really, young stars on the defensive side of this football, especially in the front seven. It's ridiculous. They're looking really good there. So I look for this team to build through, like you said, with veterans, whether it's trades, whether it's free agency, signing some big guys. I think they look to fill the middle of the field linebacker position maybe is a spot for them to look at. Obviously, receiver is a good one to go for. Talking quarterback's obviously there as well. What are they going to do? Whether Stafford makes his decision to stay or go. But I think there's a lot of great things cooking for the Rams that could look really, really good. I think you are on something here as far as McVay. He's got something planned for the future, and he needs to know so he can go on with his plans. I think that's the key for anybody who's ever made plans. If you have to rely on other people, you never want someone to be wishy-washy. You want someone who's going to buckle down and say, hey, time's here. I'm making this decision. This is where I want to go. That way you can keep going in your planning process and go forward. Whether it is getting a new quarterback to replace Stafford or whether it's helping Stafford out by building around him a little bit more, maybe giving him a stronger defense to play with as well. I think McVay is planning something here, and we're going to see things start to happen, like you said, very quickly.